No, it's not over, dumbass. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, that was kind of a clickbaity way to start the video. Guys, I've observed on X in my live streams, whatever else, I have observed a level of capitulation that I think is worse than any time that I've seen. And I'm trying to put some pieces together as to why that is. I mean, yeah, there's charts that don't look good. I'll fully grant you that. Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'd argue that it's too early to call for anyone saying that it's over. And the fascinating thing about right now is like, all right, for example, there are some accounts that I follow on X that they have been bull posting this entire time. And even I'll give one of them in particular credit. I'm not going to name him, but on April 7th, when things were looking mega bearish, he was out here saying he's a bull. He's a huge bull, a massive bull. And I give him credit for that because that was not an easy thing to say on April 7th at that April 7th bottom. But even this guy, I mean, he's talking about some bearishness for the first time that I've ever seen. And it's funny because on April 7th, I'll be honest, I mean, there were no signs that we were going to reverse, and we did reverse. And I got sucked in a little bit. To that, but I'm not there yet right now. And I want you to hear that from me. It just doesn't make sense to me looking like zooming out a little bit and looking at, for example, we're up. Bitcoin is up in September of 2025. Now, we might close the month down, but we're not going to close the month as bad as 2019 or 2015. And we for sure could close the month green. And in fact, if I were to guess, I would think we're very much going to close the month green. That's only happened 4 other times. And then there's certain indicators that I'm going to show you that would communicate to me that this is what should have happened in September. And I think a big reason why people are antsy right now is because of how terrible 2025 has been for altcoins, but also because it has to happen. Has to happen. I'm using air quotes if you're not watching me right now. In the fourth quarter, it has to happen in the fourth quarter, which I strongly disagree with. But it has to happen in the fourth quarter. So if it doesn't happen in the fourth quarter, we're done. That's their mindset. And all right, you know what? If all of your eggs are in this basket, yeah, I could see you being very antsy right now. But I'm not antsy. I'm not. Another thing, look at Q3 for Ethereum. 62.27%. We are up right now 62.27% with Ethereum this quarter. When's the last time we had a quarter that good? It was Q1 of 2021. That's the last time we've had a better quarter. So again, guys, I'm just not there. I'm not there yet. I'm looking at Bitcoin. A couple of things I'm looking at Bitcoin. Really interesting thing here. I've talked about the importance of the 20-week SMA, 20-week simple moving average. Well, okay, we did lose that as support. All right, so I made a video earlier this week saying don't be bearish at support. I showed a lot of altcoin charts. A lot of altcoin charts have lost support. Some of them haven't. Like Polkadot, amazingly. I would not say Polkadot's lost support. But Bitcoin, I would not define this as losing support for one reason. And that is the bull market support band, the 20-week SMA, 21-week EMA. Okay, we lost the 20-week SMA, but we're holding the 21-week EMA. We're holding the bottom of the bull market support band. And we are most likely to hold that at least for the remainder of this month. And then looking, I mean, I've pointed this out already on the 4-hour chart. We have this massive bullish divergence forming. So we have a bullish divergence in the Bitcoin 4-hour chart. We have a bearish divergence forming on the Bitcoin dominance 4-hour chart. Actually, that's not bearish. I'll be honest with you. I just saw that 4-hour chart, not so much. Okay, never mind. But we were extremely in oversold territory on the Bitcoin dominance 4-hour chart. Let me go back to Bitcoin. And when's the last time that on the daily the RSI was this low? We got down to 35.96 in the RSI. The last time Bitcoin's RSI was that low was April 8th, day after April 7th, the last bottom. So given all those things and given the fact that this is just what happens in September, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say 100% we're on, where there's nothing to worry about. But I am going to say that anyone throwing in the towel, they're throwing it in too early. They're throwing it in too early. Ethereum's doing exactly what I said it was going to do in an earlier video. It's back above $4,000 as of the day that I'm making this video. And what is this? This is a spring moment on a Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic. And wouldn't you know it, we back tested this 4-year trend line, had a perfect bounce off of a back test of this 4-year trend line, one that we never back tested. Like we broke through that 4-year trend line so violently that we never had a proper back test. And so it makes sense when you're going to see Ethereum dump like this, that yes, we would back test that trend line. Now, I will say, if you watch videos of mine from like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, there is something that I missed here, okay? I have been, in my opinion, very much on point with the general direction of the market. Ethereum doing this Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic, I did not identify it as that at first because I was comparing ETH to 2021. And ETH in 2021, around the time that it broke through its previous all-time high, it did very similar things to what it did, but then it deviated from 2021 and is just showing a simple reaccumulation. So this is everything that happened with sentiment, with market manipulation, with psychology. You can see how it's played itself out on the Ethereum chart. In a spring moment on a Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic, it very much feels like it's over. And did it feel like it was over for you on Thursday and Friday of this week, or just Thursday, leading Wednesday? There were a lot of people who threw in the towel in some regards. I accidentally threw in the towel with my XRP. I'm going to be honest with you. So ridiculous. I meant to set a limit order for a price much lower. Hey, fail safe, That's the closest I came to capitulating this week. A fail safe, if I was wrong, if XRP was going to dump, that I would close my position with some profit. So that's what happened. I sold my XRP accidentally. But what I did instead was I set it at a limit order that if it gets up to this price, that's when I sell. But I accidentally, put in a lower price, which means that it just market sold. So dumb. It's so dumb of me. My goodness. But, if we're going to do this, we're on track. Russell 2000's on track. Russell 2000, all that it did was bounce off the 20-day EMA. And somebody had the audacity in my live stream yesterday, 2 days ago, to say that the Russell 2000 was dumping. And, a dump to the 20-day EMA. That's like the place you're supposed to go down to in a significant uptrend is the 20-day EMA. So a couple things to just kind of, all right, this week sucked. All right, no denying that. This week really, really sucked. But it's September, and we have the fourth quarter ahead of us. Most likely what is coming is new highs in the fourth quarter. I'm not saying 100%. I'm not saying 80%. But I'm definitely not saying 50%. I'm saying most likely what is coming is new highs in the fourth quarter. And markets, if this was just a stock channel, I would have a mindset right now of like, we are so primed to go straight to the moon. But because this is a crypto channel, that's where I'll say like, all right, less than 80%, but way more than 50%. If we were just looking at stocks, 95%. It's just, what's crypto going to do? And I think crypto is going to do what it normally does in the fourth quarter. So a few things here. From Alfractal, crypto fear and greed enters fear zone. This is not a fear and greed measure, this thing, but let's take a look at it. So the crypto market index dropped to 28, the lowest level since April 2025. Now, this person's calling it, or this account's calling the fear and greed, crypto fear and greed. That is not the fear and greed index. This is something else. The crypto market index dropped to 28, its lowest level since when? April of 2025. Remember the RSI that I showed you with Bitcoin? Lowest level since April 8th of 2025. Meanwhile, stocks fear and greed index remains neutral, 51, showing that pessimism hasn't hit traditional markets yet. This divergence may point to accumulation opportunities in crypto for those who buy when sentiment is at its lowest. Crypto fear and greed, not index, 28. Stocks fear and greed, 51, neutral. Are you taking advantage of the fear or still waiting? And you can see we have entered a point of extreme fear. Similar to, do you remember this? September, there it is. September, where my mouse is, of 2024. There we were in September of 2024. But we rose, and so there's one. There is one. And here's the stock fear and greed. Not so much. Not that bad. We have from Swiss block here, we are in the reset phase. The last seven times this signal triggered since 2024, it marked a major bottom, not local bottom, major bottom. What happened next? Bitcoin rallied 20 to 30%. So Bitcoin, the moment I'm making this video, is $110,000. A 20% gain, a modest 20% gain would put us in the 130s. All right, altcoin surged plus 50 to 150%. We tracked this with the most accurate tops and bottom signals, blah, 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 blah. Aggregated impulse by altcoin vector. I'll give altcoin vector a follow. What's it telling us now? 22% of altcoins show negative impulse. Historically, bottoms form in the 15 to 25% zone. Once the reset completes, ETH and alts tend to lead the next rotation. So there we are again. Here we are again. 7th time since 2024. And so I made a video yesterday. If you're wondering the title of my video today, I woke up, I saw on Instagram a comment. I get this comment all the time when people are losing money. Something along the lines of like, Alex, you're a good guy, but you're always wrong. And at this point, here's what I'll admit to you. There may be individual videos that I make on an individual cryptocurrency that I will be wrong about from time to time, but I have the receipts. I have proven myself enough to the point where I hear something like that and I just roll my eyes. Because on day to day, I'll get things wrong. Everyone will get things wrong. But bottoms and tops, peaks and valleys, I have been your guy since November of 2022 when I called the bottom. So that's just a sign of the times. That's a buy signal, actually. All right, so if any of you want to comment in this video, foregone, by the way, thank you for your comment yesterday or 2 days ago. You panicked, okay? You panicked at the bottom. Good job. Again, I love you, but not really. I actually, for those of you who watch my live streams, I can't stand foregone. And I legitimately can't stand foregone. But again, I do respect the fact that he keeps coming back. So what about stocks? Listen, I've also seen a lot of people, and people whose opinions I really respect, talking about, giving up on crypto and buying stocks. Now, it's true. From January of 2024 to now, you'd probably be doing a lot better if you just bought stocks. Not me. That's actually not true of me. I'm doing a lot better. I have done to this point a lot better in crypto. From what I started out in January of 2024 to now, I am multiple X's higher. And I didn't start with all that much for a reason that sick daughter, won't get into that. But stocks are, I have a lot of my portfolio in stocks right now. That's how I cash out mostly, cash out of crypto, if I'm not just taking it to the bank and paying bills. So we have from Jordan Lindsay, awesome dude, buybacks, passive flows, relentless demand, but doomers still calling the top, doom sells. Okay. Ryan Dietrich, he's quoting Ryan Dietrich here. Since 2019, the S&P 500 is up 125%. 76% of that is coming from earnings growth and 19% from dividends. No, this isn't a bubble. This rally is justified from strong earnings growth. I have something to say about that. All right, there is something I will say about that. So yes, we have earnings growth. We have multiple growth. We have dividends. And yes, I do agree with the general sentiment that we should not be calling a top in the stock market yet. What I would say is actually what should happen, honestly, is a blow off top. Is a time where things get just absolutely bananas in the S&P 500 and in the NASDAQ at prices much higher than here. You know, I tend to think over $8,000 in the S&P 500. IWM, Russell 2000, going in the banana zone. And I always want to compare this. The issue I have is more so just like dollars are becoming, since 2019, becoming less and less reliable. You know, why would you ever cash out in dollars? I mean, look at the S&P 500 priced in gold. We've been in a bear market since 2021, and this looks really depressing. Let's look at the NASDAQ priced in gold. It's just as bad. You know, so a blow off top in terms of dollars, yeah, they're making more dollars because dollars are worth less. The Dow Jones price in gold is even worse. Dow Jones price in gold peaked in 2018. So like that's what we're up against. And this, you know, you're calling this a bubble in the stock market. I would challenge you on that. I would say that no, it's just that the dollar is deceiving you. All right, and then Bitcoin price in gold, it's not like right now it's really all that impressive, except now that I'm looking at this, do we have something here? We kind of have something. Look at that. We have a trend line. And so I think what's coming for Bitcoin over the remainder of 2025, looking at this trend line, let me get rid of the EMAs, is not a new all-time high, something like this. Whoop. That could be a move up to $150,000 for Bitcoin. That honestly, that could look like a move up to $150,000 in Bitcoin. So looking at that chart, there's another, so it hasn't quite broken down yet. If we were to see a breakdown, even let's say we did see a breakdown of this Bitcoin gold line, okay, we break down, gold rips, Bitcoin just kind of does a chop solidation, and then a back test of that, again, that might be a move of up to $150,000. So either way, all right. So again, I'm not there yet. The reason why I'm like, all right, you know, earnings growth, cool, dividends, is just the dollar. It's, you know, we're talking about since 2019. We're talking about post great debasement of 2020. Yeah, sure, the numbers are going to look a lot better. But I saw this Raoul Pal video. I did very strongly recommend it, and I'm going to be done with this video. He talks about, this is the mindset you have to have. If you essentially want to break even on an annual basis, you have to have 11% annual returns in your mind right now. Isn't that crazy? 11%, but that's the reality we live in right now. And that's not exciting to me. That's really terrifying for people who don't have assets that increase in value, that at least retain their value. So a lot of poor and lower middle class people, they're going to get annihilated. But that's our reality right now. That's why, yeah, of course, the S&P 500 would be up 125% since 2019. That's a little bit of an outperformance of just what we need to break even. So that's it. That's all I have for today. I'm going to share that gold chart on X, and just we'll see what comes of that. So have a good one. I will see you in another video. Peace.